Hi everyone, this is Alexander Zeitlin. This is the Lockdown Lecture Series for beginner viola, adapted from the Alias Music Introductions course for the classroom setting. Let's jump into Lesson 3. So, where we left off last week, we went over how to pluck our C major scale and how to use it to mark fingerings for our nursery rhymes. So you guys should have finished Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it should look like this. I will write in the rest of the fingerings. You can check them. So they're still on the D string, D1, D0, G3, D0, D1, 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 D0, D0, D1, D0, and we finish with G3. So, and you guys should have been practicing this, and you can play along with me. It will sound like this. So that's Mary Had a Little Lamb for viola. Now, your next assignment, I'm just going to give it to you. You're going to mark the strings and fingers for the rest of the nursery rhymes. There are 3 more. There's Twinkle, and I've marked the arrows for you. So take a moment and copy down those arrows to make sure that your second fingers are in the right place. And here's Are You Sleeping? You can pause the video and write those in here. And here's London Bridge. You can pause the video and write those in. And for this week, do not go past here, because after that we will do the Bach minuet. I have some new things to learn for that. All right, so just a couple notes as you go on to doing Twinkle. So watch out for large leaps. So for example, your first note here is on the middle staff line. Let me switch over to a better view here. And in case you want to see all the arrows with a better view, here's Twinkle, here's Are You Sleeping, and here's London Bridge. All right, so you see the first note is on the middle staff line right here. And if I use my scale, I see that, that is G3 right here. So I'm going to write G3. And then I have another G3. So watch out, I have a big leap coming right here. I'm going to check my note, and here it's on the top staff line. So it's going to be this one right here, and that is D3. So third finger, D. Now, I can already, you guys have been practicing this scale for, a few weeks now. I can start to memorize the sequence of the scale because I see the next note just goes up. And I remember if I just do my scale, D0, D1, D2, D3, the next note up is A0. So maybe I don't even have to look up at my scale. I just remember the next one's A0. Another A0 because it's the same note. And then it goes down 1. So I'll go back down to D3. So you can start to use your memorized scale. It goes down another one. It's going to be D2. Another D2, D1, D1, it goes down another one, D0, D0, and we finish on G3. You can start using your memorized scale to more quickly figure out your notes, especially when they're going in stepwise motion, which is when they don't jump. Here's what the beginning of Twinkle sounds like. Homework for next class is going to be to learn all of the nursery rhymes. This is what I usually call the nursery rhyme suite, because it's a suite is a set of pieces. So let me update the homework. You no longer have to do the 3-2-1-0 scale. You can do the C major scale 3 times plucking. That's still important. And you can mark fingerings. I'm going to write NRS for nursery rhyme suite, and then practice each song 3 times. Okay, so that is your homework, especially for plucking for the left hand. So today we're going to introduce the bow, and I get to know it and how it works. And we're also going to take a look at our very first exercises to set up our bow hand. So let me switch views here and introduce the bow. So here's my typical viola bow. I've got this area here, which is called the frog, and this area here, which is called the tip. My frog has a few parts. So this here is the screw. The long stick running all the way across is the shaft. This is our leather guard. This is a metal guard right here. The frog itself is actually this part right there. This is the eye of the frog, that little circle right there. That little nub right there is known as the step. And then here is my bow hair. So just a couple things about the bow and the hair itself. So the hair has rosin on it, which is a fine sticky powder, and it's actually what makes your bow grab the string and play. So make sure you never touch the hair with your fingers, okay? Whether you have oily skin or not, there's always some oils on our fingers, on our skin, and it's going to get into the rosin and clump it together, and then your bow will just not make sound in that spot where you grabbed it. Your bow will also need to be rosined. Most of your instruments come with rosin. You're going to unpack it or unwrap it. You're going to rub a little bit of the rosin on the frog. You're going to want to do that about 3 times on the frog, 3 times across the whole bow, and then 3 times at the tip. You want a little bit of extra rosin so that it will grab better at the frog and at the tip. So that's kind of how you set up your bow. Let's take a look at how the bow hand works and kind of how we use it. So here's my, back to a bow hand diagram here. And my bow has 3 control points. The first is right here between the step of the frog and the leather guard right here. So this is controlled by my thumb. And my thumb basically acts as a fulcrum, because the bow essentially kind of acts as a lever, you'll see. And my thumb is the fulcrum of the lever. So my thumb will kind of be right here, and the bow can move around it. That's the first control point. The second control point is right here, and that is my pinky. So if my thumb is right here, and my pinky is right here, if I were to press down with my pinky, it's going to lift the bow up. So my pinky is in charge of making the bow lighter, lifting it up. My third control point is right here. That is controlled by my index finger. And if my thumb is here, and my index finger is on the other side of it right here, if I press down with my pinky, it's going to press the bow down. So this makes the bow heavier. For now, you actually don't have to worry about that finger doing anything because the bow's heavy enough. Later on, when you play chords and things like that, you'll probably need some more weight to your sound, but for now, it should be fine. So let's take a look at how we set up our bow hand. So this is a little bit tricky and probably more complex and nuanced than the left hand, which actually picks out our notes. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to grab kind of in the middle, but towards the frog. So I try to find like where the bow is balanced well on either side. I'm going to grab it on the shaft, not on the hair. And I'm just going to hold it there with my left hand, and I want the frog on the same side as my right hand. So I don't want this. My right hand's over here. My right hand's the one that holds the bow. I want my right hand close here. I'm going to take my thumb, and I'm going to create a little like coat hook with my thumb. My thumb is going to go, let me switch over to better view here. My thumb is going to go right here between the step and the leather guard. So it's in a sort of rounded coat hook shape. And it's right there. Now I'm going to take all of my other fingers and I'm just going to wrap them around the bow, even to the point where they're hanging over the edge of the bow, kind of like hanging deep. My pinky belongs up here. So just as one more point, my middle finger should be right across from the thumb. So if I set this upright, my thumb and middle finger right across from each other, my fingers hang over, and I set my pinky up here, and that is my bow hand setup. So it eventually kind of ends up looking like this. So to repeat, let's jot this down. We have sort of 3 finger positions. Our thumb, write this down here. Our thumb is rounded between the step and leather guard. Our pinky, actually our second thing we set up is our other fingers. Our other fingers are hanging over. That's very important. They're not grabbing, they're not sitting on top, they're hanging over. With my middle finger across from the thumb. And lastly, my pinky is rounded on top. So I'm going to set up my bow hand and I will do my first bow hand form exercise. So right here, I will just kind of relax my fingers, take my thumb, set it between the thumb, the step and the leather guard, wrap all my other fingers around gently, set my pinky on top. So now what you're going to do is very carefully let go of the left hand and keep it close in case it feels like it's slipping. Then you are going to tilt your bow down. Just tilt your whole arm, your wrist, until it points down at the floor, and you'll feel the weight of your bow move off of your pinky. So now it's kind of feels weightless. And then you're going to just tilt your whole arm back up until it's horizontal. Now you'll feel your pinky doing more of the work and holding the bow up again. And you'll do that 3 times. That is our bow hand lift exercise. Okay, so that is our first exercise with the bow. Now you're going to do that for at least 2 days. Just get used to where the fingers go. Bow lift exercise. But let's say you've done it for 2 days. You may now start to use the bow on the string. So I'm going to show you your first bow hand exercise where you actually play on your instrument. So we are now going to take everything we've learned about how to set up our left hand and our right hand, and we're going to put it all together. It looks like, you know, when professional players start to play, they just pick up their instrument and it's amazing, it looks perfect. But they actually do every step we've learned every time. They just kind of do it fluidly all in one motion. You're going to take your instrument, you're going to, with your left hand, set it on your shoulder, turn your chin, and then get your hand in position. For this exercise, you can actually even leave it on the body. That would be fine. Then for your bow, if you have a music stand, you can actually set your bow on the little ledge of the music stand, and you can make your frog just stick out a little bit so that your frog is sticking out over the edge, and you can use it as like a preset holder for your bow. We could also do it off the edge of the table. But the next thing you're going to do, I know you can't see it in my screen, but I'm going to round my thumb, I'm going to set up my bow hand, fingers hanging over, pinky on the shaft, and I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to set it on the string, kind of near the frog. On the D string, we're going to start on the D string. I'm going to carefully move the bow down towards the tip like this, and back. And you're going to do that 4 times. I just moved it down and up once. You're going to move it down and up 4 times. And now G string. And C string. And A string. Now when you're doing this exercise, your bow will make all kinds of unpleasant sounds. It's part of being a beginner. Right now, just get it to move. If it crunches, just keep it going. You'll see as it gets toward the tip, it'll feel easier to make sound, and get back towards the frog, it gets a little bit harder. But I do want you guys to pay attention to one thing. So that is that as I move my bow from frog to tip, I want to bend my wrist away from me. So like this. My wrist bends down and out. So it used to be like this, and now it's like this. And then when I go back to the frog, my wrist bends like this. So that's called wrist pronation. Make sure that your wrist is flexible. You want your bow to be as straight as possible, parallel to your bridge, and about halfway between the bridge and the fingerboard, right about here. Okay, so don't go too far over here, and don't get too close to the bridge. At a later lesson, we will go over the details of what makes good sound. If I could just give a couple pointers for everyone, you want to make sure that while you're doing this, you're really important that your thumb stays rounded. If your knuckle is touching the bow hair, it's round enough. That's actually a little bit too round for when we play at more advanced levels, but for beginners, that's really good to just have it touching the hair. That means for sure it's rounded enough. Make sure the pinky doesn't lock out, and make sure these fingers don't grab. Okay, the fingers should just be hanging over. That's it for this lesson. So you have your bow lift exercise, and then you also have your whole bow exercise. So let me jot that down for you guys. Whole bows 4 times each string. And that's it. That's it for lesson 3. I will see you all at lesson 4.